Ed Comeau.
We will now connect you to your call. The host has joined the conference. Conference recording started.
All right, here we are, Tuesday morning again, ready to have another. We're going to start right in, reviewing our fiscal and correspondence situations this week. Go for it.
On this fence contract, 3 of us need to sign it or just one?
If it just has one signature, one I'm sure we'll do, but if there's room, if they have 3, we'll do 3.
No, there's one, so I'll leave that for Chairman.
If you want me to sign it, just put it in, just say it, and we get to it, minutes, and I'll sign it.
Yeah, doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't me either, that's why I put it in the signature.
Not a priority item, except that we get the tent. And I'll cover that with all.
Mike, these sealed bids, do we want to open these up in the regular meeting for the,
Oh, yeah. Did we have that posted for a time and date to open any sealed bids?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it was at the next selectmen's meeting, at this selectmen's meeting, but one will be in a minute.
Yeah, because I know I gave her a cutoff date, so if we met that, it's not like it's,
I believe it's today. And the open bid is supposed to be opened at this.
Oh, okay, yeah, we'll do that. Because it wasn't like it's a vendor thing where we have, yeah, it's a little less formal in that sense. Okay.
No, is there a note right on that?
What's that? Yeah,
It says when they're supposed to be open.
8:25, yes, exactly. Sorry, I didn't even read that part. I just saw the sealed bid at the top, I didn't read the rest of it.
I got to thinking it.
Yeah,
Picture there was a note on
there,
there.
yeah. And we have a winner.
Come on down.
Getting busier, I'm gonna need a bigger table.
I just started doing piles on the floor behind the chair too here.
Coming into budget season, I might have to buy some kind of big carrying case. I mean, today was a cardboard box. Getting out of hand. My wife would like to...
Oh, when you get to the point where you're lugging 2 suitcases in, that's not a little...
I have a full live-in basement, you know? And, boy, I think my wife would like to get some of that real estate back. Because it's just paper and files and folders.
And what's the tent contract for, Brian? The tent?
I can cover that one for you when we hit it in the agenda.
Okay.
I'll just go through it. This is on the... Yeah, they kind of sprang up, so... Brian, on payroll liabilities, under salaries, 2,100, there's several entries on employees in general. Is that like, what is that actually? Is that FICA and,
Yeah.
okay.
And Medicare, and on the police, it has to deal with the retirement system and insurance, and medical insurance.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, do you still have a little round cabin on the property?
What cabin?
Your little round cabin that's on your property.
It's not round.
I thought it was, oh no, it is a square one. Isn't the top round? It's got a little,
No, it's just kind of like a little cupola top kind of thing.
could that be your new office?
It might be where I live.
Elaine, if you're listening.
You tried to cause enough trouble in my life, buddy.
This street, initial is up in the blue or? Which initial is on the blue part, fold over part? Or right on the bottom?
MD paving, owners representative, party, I don't know that we need to do anything. Signature security company, contract install,
I think that's just our copy.
information only, yeah, no, that,
It's our copy.
yeah.
So we don't need to look into it?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yep.
You have 2?
No, but I understand what it is.
Our bathroom fan does that, it's like I'm always up there pushing it, cause it's rattling on it.
It says it needs something done with the filter too, the red light's on.
Yeah, I think it's vacuum it, and we don't have a housekeeper.
I hear you working on that.
Who's working on it?
I thought Christine was working on that.
Can't find anybody interested.
Advertising. Did we do that before?
I can get this off the train.
This is not public.
Oh. I have just a question on the payroll stuff. That's the total net, I mean gross. What is,
This here is his normal 40-hour net. This is some overtime here, which bumps up his pay. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
And
There's
then
one coming right there.
this is, I gotta get a
Yeah, I know.
line here. That's New Hampshire retirement system.
Yep, no, all the rest of it,
Okay.
this is what I'm concerned.
Overtime.
And who's approving it, and how's that, what's the cause of it?
That particular one was court case.
Okay? Court
And a
case.
couple, last week there was one that was, it was a call out for a 911 hang up and then nobody else available, so they called us out. And the other one, the other one was domestic violence arrest.
Okay, and these are all outside the normal hours?
Yeah.
Court cases are outside the normal hours, or was
Well, I
it?
think what happened is he got called in on a day he was scheduled to work different hours because of the court case.
Got it, okay. That's all I needed to know. How that was.
He's been pretty good because the call out calls for a 4-hour minimum, but he only charges 2 for the court case.
No, I just needed to know why we're incurring the charges. I didn't have a dispute with anything, I just wanted to understand why. Inquiring mind, that's all.
Did we solve our bee problem on the front door? The bees? Did we solve that?
Oh, apparently, some guy came and sprayed it out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah, the resident, and then yesterday I put duct tape in the holes so they couldn't get in or out.
Okay. Yeah, the roof was right around the door.
It's right above the door.
Why isn't JP Test taking care of that?
It should be. That's
I
why I'm asking.
reported it a few times and they just keep coming down.
JP Test or the Hornets?
So what? And then they go to the shed over there too. They have their location. But I put duct tape over the whole house.
I sprayed a lot of them in the shed because I got stung over there just recently.
Yeah. I got stung the other day, I don't know if you knew that.
You told me that. Is that what the, can of spray is all about, a reimbursement for the,
Yeah, a resident actually came to my rescue as I was being attacked by a terrible hornet. He had 2 cans of spray in his car and went after him. They were very bad.
Gee. This is not new to you, right? This is a old thing. Settled.
Yeah, that's,
Okay. That's all I need to know, is that's past tense at this
Yes.
point.
yeah, on a picnic table yesterday.
Okay. Where's the front? Brian, you said that new storage system that, our vendor for computers put in, you're gonna try and get reimbursement on? Right.
It's on the list of things that we should be reimbursed for, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
all that money? Yeah.
I was gonna bring that up on the floor behind you.
Yeah, I know, I've already thrown it down there. I threw it down there.
Ah, okay.
The desk isn't big enough for everything, so that's a throwaway pile.
You have it.
You want a box or something?
No.
He might have this box.
Job doesn't pay enough to get a proper briefcase, what can I tell you?
It's not in the budget.
Not in the,
Better box than that.
oh, hey, there you go, I think I upgraded to a better box. Is that like that wax-coated, corrugated stuff? That's
Why do
nice.
you have this brown one on?
Nice.
It's just so soft.
Brian, can you tell me what's going on with Health Trust here? It says, total amount due $5,700, and it has, previous employee listed in here. So, Health Trust,
Yeah.
outstanding balance $5,700. Can you shed some light on that?
The outstanding balance was half of that,
Total amount due,
which is,
outstanding balance, $3,900, adjustment, okay. Current billed amount, okay, 28. Total amount due, is that like the phone bill where they include the last go round? Okay. And he's done, so this must represent the last, is that an adjustment? Because he's done? That employee is no longer with us?
that's correct, that's why it's a minus.
Got it. Making sure I'm reading this right. Back to this. Where was that? It's this. Here. Hey, Dave. Hi, Dave. It's a common name. I wonder what Dave that is. Hey, Randy.
I know what Randy that is.
Yeah, I didn't know there were any Jack in the Boxes left around. Nice mask.
That's Mighty Mouse, right? Which one's that? Mickey Mouse, sorry. Because you were going like that, so I thought it was...
Mickey Mouse.
We're Mickey Mouse Town.
Come on, you're a solid foundation saver.
I'm looking at that because I thought it was 41, that's why I'm trying to figure out what I did. But that is, I need to see the bill.
All right. I'll hand you the whole item. I may have missed the numbers.
Whoa, good morning, Wes.
Oh, you find it, you just let me know. I got other things.
I found it. I'm trying to wire that shit. Yes.
Blank and answers or something.
Oh, why,
You still have the manifest?
Brian's got it right now because I had a quiz question, so.
Oh, okay.
Something I couldn't identify, and apparently he's struggling to find out what it is right now, too.
you know, 572 times 2.
Thank you, sir.
On that Hornet spray, I'll pick up 2 cans.
Oh.
That sound real good to you, Jeff?
Yeah, but we also, GP Pass, that's part of what we're paying for.
Yeah, well,
We're supposed to do it with that kind of thing, we're supposed to be able to get them back and have them take care of that.
and that's something that somebody can follow up on. But I'll pick up a couple of cans and drop them off here so that that individual can be made whole.
Yep.
You got nowhere. They hold a meeting up in, all 5 years later, so then on, had that, it was supplemented the information to them
No buildings.
back in 2005 or 6. That would have worked, because now you go to an EP, if any place within 5 miles of the water station. And the other issue was the automatic mutual aid, so they. I remember because that was, and then cleaning up is broken down, so anyhow, so here, my house was the Zoom. Actually had my first case, we said it would be something else. Stories. No, I'm not the one. There are 8 feet, there was. I'm not the one that was. I do some coffee. Don't forget, she runs shit. Apparently somebody else challenged it. So, right? Real estate coffee. It's almost what I saw. Yeah, I do a very well. It's so fun. A last minute item that just came in.
No.
Have it for, but
I think it has something to do with.
no hurry.
Oh, no problem, I'll do it.
It would be, I think they.
Just sort of came in last minute.
Right now. Mike, what I can tell you is.
Just found out.
There's something wrong in the breakdown here, because that should be 11:40.
All right, tomorrow will be close.
11:44, now I know what it is.
I'll give you a copy.
Math is telling me exactly what that I,
2 weeks.
yeah,
I might have not come up.
I got it.
But it shouldn't, it somehow wrote it down wrong.
Well, that's why when I saw what it said, and I didn't have anything that made me connect the two, that's why I have
Go
that.
through the rest of them, and I'll spend some time with the sheets.
You wanna hand this to Mr. Fuller, I guess?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Job security, what's he doing, giving out lighters at the school for graduation?
And directions.
And-
Fire prevention week, we hand out box of that.
There you go.
The picture is smoking.
I gave one to everyone.
Oh, okay.
Just so, when it came, I checked my email, like, at 5 past, and it was, so. Probably something you guys should just, you can add to your list to respond to. Couldn't get it on the agenda, I mean,
That's me.
this is the original, so I'm not sure where you need to place that. Don't mess this up. She'll have our heads on a platter. I'll put it in there. That's your copy.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Could probably write copies in there. There's that. Don't foul Chris up. What are we doing? This is just what I, that gave all of them. This old trash truck?
Yeah, it's actually recycling.
Yep.
I'll have more before I'm done.
Yeah, I know.
Why do we get 2 electric bills at the transfer station? Because of the contractors?
No, because of the, little
Oh,
jack up top has a separate service.
okay.
Which, why is it even on right now if we're getting billed, I don't know. Maybe they probably just bill you for that minimum to have.
Well, as long as we have chosen to keep power going to that building, then
Right.
we'll get billed.
Yeah.
If we choose saying, hey, at this point in time for the next year, we don't need it, then
I-
we notify them, they come unplug it, and we start getting charged.
Yeah, I'd probably look just to shut it down unless you have any reasons to think.
I don't, no.
Yeah, that on the to-do list, I guess.
All right.
Now, who calls to shut that down, Brian?
Brian, Chris.
And then it occurred to me. Yeah, right. Oh, here's something interesting. This is, he's figuring that out right now.
Okay.
This is, what a deed used to look like back in, what, 1999, I think it was.
Back in the day. Yeah, and when I look at the language out of some of that stuff, it looks like a lot of just carry forward, recycling, whatever, so.
Yeah.
We just added some clarifications to it.
But they have changed.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea. They only have one functioning element. Okay. Well, there's been a few, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 old school buildings. You look at the sign. Oh, okay. Might be several. I know, right? They're great when they work.
I see you get that. I think I got this. Yeah, I think. Did I?
Okay. It works. You're welcome.
I told it to break it out. They're gonna have to look at the manifest to figure out why it broke out differently. On the manifest, it comes out with the exact same.
Okay.
Both of them come out with that same amount, so I don't know why it broke it out differently, but that's what that is.
Yeah, all right. Let's find out what category it ended up in, so it's not.
It ended up, the 900 and whatever's on there ended up in that right category. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, where the rest of it ended up to make the number come out, right?
Yes, I agree. But that's a QuickBooks thing, because that's where I told it to go.
Hey, Chuck.
Yeah.
Did you figure it out?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, right? You know,
When I saw the difference between the two bids,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
two properties, back on the tax records.
Actually, three.
Right? Three total?
Both these are for one,
Yep.
and there was one for, a purchase, two purchases,
The 500?
and the 3,000.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right.
Hard work paying off. Okay, let's see. I think we're at a point here, right? Guess I need Gwen for one item. All right.
Yes.
Yes,
Mr. Chairman.
Hi, Gwen. You have some paperwork in here for a
And-
purchase, so I guess you're gonna follow up with
Oh, yes,
witnesses
yes,
and
yes,
dates.
yes,
and-
I'll do that, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I just wanted to.
Yep,
all right.
yeah, I see you guys. I saw ya.
All right.
I got my eye on you. Hey,
I-
hey, Mike.
Yeah. Is that a learned thing? Where did you come up with that?
I don't know, I think that's fun for,
You asked me about that earlier.
Where it is down there? Yeah, no, it's become all clear to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
So you know that I always appreciate all your hard work, Gwen.
oh, of course,
So,
yeah,
Occasionally, we make a couple of good decisions around here, you know.
absolutely.
Even, maybe it's by accident, I'm not saying.
No, those positive forces that
That,
exist in the realm of all possibilities.
all generated by a positive
There
attitude.
you go.
All right. Okay. Get reading material here.
get that back now that I'm sure you've seen it.
Hey, go on, sir.
I'll let you pick it.
There you go, sir. Excuse me. I don't even have to see it. I just know these. It's a school. I'm sitting at the blackboard. It comes with this.
Mike? I have no idea how it did this.
Okay. So the math is kind of
The math, the bottom line is right.
right.
The breakdown is not correct. And I can't even add two things together to make it equal what it is here, what I put in and told it to pay.
All right. After the meeting, I'll I'll play with that a little bit, see if I can.
I have no idea how it did this.
Well, look, doesn't matter how it happened. It's more important that we figure out where the numbers belong, and I can double around with
The
it.
next thing I need to really try to do is go back and see if it actually posted it correctly to the budget to actual.
Okay.
Because in reality, as long as the bottom line is right for the manifest, and it is, we paid the bill.
Right.
And if it broke it out correctly in the budget to actual,
That'd be nice.
I don't care how it broke it out in the manifest, really.
Well, you dig into the budget be actual, and I'll take the two columns of numbers and see if I can make any headway with
When
that.
this is over, let's look how it posted to the budget to actual.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you play with that, and I'll play with the columns and numbers, and we'll get there.
I have absolutely no idea how it did this.
Not a problem. We'll get to the bottom of it. I have every confidence in our skills. Ooh.
Super sleuthing.
Super sleuthing, yes. We're gonna. I do have a question for you, Brian, before we jump right into things. Health Trust provides some kind of breakdown on their plans financially. They have a two-person, they have a family plan. Those are single items, but there's a single plan of which they list three different, I'll call them A, B, and C. Do we know what those plans offer for coverage? Obviously, the cheaper plan is not gonna be as good.
Off the top of my head, it has to do with whether they have, life insurance, long-term disability, and short-term disability. That's off the top without going through the document again. You asked me that, what the price was, maybe a week and a half ago, and I came up with that document. I looked at it. I got it from Hillsborough. But I don't want to be held to that's what it is, but I'm quite sure that's what the difference is in the three plans.
Okay. Yeah, I might wanna follow up if that's because it's probably broken out like that. So if there were additional options under that one plan, I just wanna know what it's saying here.
You
Because
can keep that because,
I had a copy made.
Okay.
Glenn was kind enough to make me a copy.
like I said, it's online, so I know.
Well, it was the two-person plan that I had asked you to focus on, but seeing this, the single plan now piques my interest as to what are those numbers in individual plans seem to mean. Just, I'm nosy, that's all. I'm just kinda, how are we doing? Is everybody all through with all the folders?
Yeah, we're waiting on you.
Oh, okay, well, there you go. Nothing's changed week to week. At this point, I will make a motion to approve the manifest in the amount of $23,369.14. Do I have a second?
Hot second.
Hot second. All in favor, please.
All right.
Hal and I. Done with that. We've got the minutes of the August 18th Selectmen's meeting. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Fuller seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Take a vote on that.
All right.
Hal and I. August 18th work session minutes. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Fuller. You'll be quicker, Tom.
We gotta get little buzzers, you know.
Red light.
Okay, motion to approve has been seconded, so, Hal and I, thank you. We have a non-public on August 18th. I will make a motion to approve.
Hot second.
All right, all in.
All right.
Hal and I, thank you, everyone. We have a purchase and sales agreement in the folder for map 413, lot 26. That has been executed. That is one of those long lingering properties that Gwen has been striving to clean up and get off the rolls. We have the Strojan proposal for the heating system, which we have approved. We had also brought in AmeriGas, Eastern Propane,
American out of North Conway.
American out of North Conway.
Yep. Never provided any.
That was White Mountain Propane. I brought in. You brought in
American, and they didn't provide anything.
Very fast the state bid.
Talking about the heating system,
Heating
not
system.
the propane.
I'm talking about the propane.
No.
We're talking heating systems.
So, White Mountain Propane was brought in. They didn't supply a bid. There were two other companies that were recommended by AmeriGas, and one, I know when I talked to them, the COVID impacted their workforce, so they never showed up to put in a bid. And we had another individual come in to bid, but it really wasn't as concise and all-encompassing as what we had. So apparently we talked to 6 companies.
There's a couple of things on that Strojan proposal I thought you might want to look at.
Oh, all right.
I don't know, let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines, 7 lines down, I believe. There should be a new gas line installed from an outside regulator that would be provided by the LP gas company located on the boiler. So that's an additional cost. Then on the numbered ones, they talk about removing an oil burner. I think that's just a typo. I think that's supposed to be the pellet.
Yeah, the pellet boiler.
But it is a typo.
Yeah.
And did anybody check to see if there's any asbestos out there?
all the asbestos removed when we had the grant for the boiler system, so that's been gone through, best of my knowledge.
And then,
They pulled it back in the day.
Yep.
number 8, interior LP gas piping within 25 feet of one.
Where it comes in, where they're gonna install it.
So they're just gonna give you 25 feet of gas.
Yeah, but it's like a foot and a half, 2 feet.
I guess my question is, with the, new gas line that comes in, why we can't actually use what's there unless it needs a greater, size line?
That was my concern, that it might need a larger line coming in, because now you're gonna feed a furnace versus that hot water here.
Right. So, I guess that would be.
You make a call, I'll make a call down to Mike and
Chuck will
find out
follow up.
what that is and
Yeah.
what the concern is.
Okay, good catches, Brian.
Thank you.
All right, so Chuck's following up. I'll make a note here. We now have, the 10th issue. What came about is I attended a meeting here, simply because I was in doing 100 other things. Susan Slack, our town moderator, was meeting with Deanna Amaral, our town clerk tax collector, in regards to election planning. So some of the last minute details were coming up. And it was discussed that we need to have a second area to provide some functions to some people when they show up that won't be conforming to going into the building. Masked, related, non-masked, it's a thing. So anyway, some suggestions were floated about to how best service the folks that would be not entering the building and not having a second, small building or something out there. There was discussions of another entrance to the school, and it just seemed really problematic as far as messaging and directing people. So what I had suggested, and maybe it was Deanna suggested, was a tent. Yes, actually Deanna suggested one of her poll workers was going to bring in their own tent and set it up on the front lawn. And that's when I said, no. Well, I'll make a call. We'll get a tent brought in, set up by the professionals. It'll have sides, the whole bit. Just go. I assume we can roll them up if it's a nice day, drop them down, some variant, and we'll work under there. And I chose 20 by 20 as a sign that probably gives us a bit of social distancing without being overwhelming inside. It is going to be placed adjacent the walkway as you enter the school, but facing the sidewalk.
Yep.
So that people can enter from the sidewalk portion and not clog up the pathway into the voting area.
Did we kind of notify the school when we're adding on?
I think that Deanna was going to make that call. I have a hard time thinking there's going to be a problem.
No, I just think it's a
No, it's a courtesy.
professional courtesy.
Right, and Deanna will touch base to make sure that call got made. But it's, it's not going to have heat, lighting, or any, extra weird things that are problematic. So anyway, that was what the conclusion was that we would do.
I just had one question on that when I was reading the proposal. On my, it said 4 solid sides.
Oh, did it? 4 solid sides?
Does that mean there's no door? I have to have one side up. Does it mean just no windows?
We barrel under. Actually, Tom, if you've got questions after the meeting, why don't you do a follow-up call and explore that and see if we can get some soft sides.
Not when they come with the door.
I'm sure there's going to be an access point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but follow up on that's good. Good question. So anyway, that's why that all got done. And since things were getting a little bit time sensitive, it was a consensus it was going to need to be done. I just took a little executive action.
Good.
Rather than trying to get you guys together to make that one. I couldn't imagine in my wildest dreams that anybody would have a problem with it, because we are the ones obligated with providing it. So. Thank you for your understanding. Action folder, HEB finalized contract amendment 2. That is actually going out to, the USDA from there. So I did talk to Chris Fournier at HEB yesterday, and there was a little confusion on what information they were providing the USDA, provided what he thought I was providing on behalf of the board. So, we cleared that up, that at this point, everything going forward is really an engineering issue to do with the requirements of the federal government, with the exception of the contract, but I said, Chris, you might as well do this, because any back and forth interaction on, with them on questions and how much engineering oversight, and if that's a negotiated part on their behalf. So Chris is doing that. My hope is at this point, we have given the USDA, i.e. the federal government, everything they need, I hope. You never know, right? So can't be positive. But with that, if that's a correct assumption, we could be hearing something back in the next few weeks as to whether or not we get the grant.
For Bailey Road,
No,
which one is it?
Snow Road. Right, the USDA $250,000 grant, Snow Road, or up to 55% of the project cost, up to $250,000 was how it was written. In talking to Mike Hansen, who has the contract for that bridge, who provided the bridge plan and all that, he bid on it last year, and that was our bidder that we were going with. Talked to Michael yesterday, and he's all good to hold his price. I talked to him about holding his price solid because of the time lapse, and he feels pretty strongly that shouldn't be a problem. His engineer himself and Chris Fournier of HEB, our engineer, just have to work out some detail items, because our engineer wants to see certain DOT spec items or equivalent in this whole package, to which there may be some engineering done on Mike Hansen's side, and that's why his bid was higher than we initially thought it was going to be, because some of that hadn't been settled out, and he didn't want to cut himself short. So, those things are now going to take place behind the scenes, and the other thing is when this all gets resolved by those three parties, we're probably going to be looking to making a deposit down on the bridge construction to Mike Hansen, because what they will do over the winter, it'll pay for labor, materials, and all the process involved with constructing all the parts and pieces of the bridge. They'll prefabricate everything, put it off the side. That's Effingham's bridge. Come in, date to be determined, but our discussions where we'd like to have it done before school gets out, or in that time frame before the folks vacation up. So we'd be looking probably at May, if weather is on our side, and we'd hit the ground running in May and construct the bridge in that time frame. So that's the discussions, and we'll see how things unfold in, the details.
Do you know a percentage of the deposit yet? We know what that's gonna be?
No, but I don't.
That's pretty standard in the real world anyway.
Right, and in fact, I was surprised in talking to our bridge builder on Elm Street, who said, we're gonna submit an invoice for the work being done, that's been done. So, I guess I knew that we hadn't paid anything, but the Elm Street Bridge, that work is all done to be a travel-through solid bridge, and we are going to be invoiced. We have not paid anything to them up front. So, I think a lot of people might not realize that. The conversation was on Elm Street that the bridge is going to be under budget. So, he doesn't know exactly how much. He's going to crunch all the numbers and get us that, but he feels strongly that we'll be under budget. The one thing that has not been accomplished on the Elm Street Bridge is kind of the corner. It's not really a real structural issue. that they're going to chip out that large chunk on the corner and reform that and do the crack in the abutment, which again, for this process isn't a huge thing and probably isn't going to be all that expensive. We're waiting on a permit for notification to the DES. So basically a permit that doesn't come with any fees. It's new with the revisions that came in last December, I think it was. So it's actually easier supposedly to do than in the past. We're going to have to put staging into the water. So we're going to build up something, put the staging on it so they can do this concrete work on that side. The review process is supposed to take 5 days at the state level. It's just supplying with the information and be done. HEB is going to handle that. They've just got the information on how wide of an area, what Mike needs to do the work. So that's going to go forward, and it'll probably be a month out or something when he comes back to town to address that. The other thing we found on Elm Street Bridge yesterday when I was out there watching the finalizing of the paving and all that stuff was he pointed out the corner on the other side, I guess the south corner, you're heading west to Ossipee over the bridge, and the corner on the left, the south side corner, it's got some spalling, and you can see kind of a salt line arching through it. So it's indicative of a problem that's going to come, and there's two seams that come out, so water, salt, all like that's getting behind it. So he said what we could do is take that top off at the same time, clean all that out, clean out all the joints, and then reseal the joints so water doesn't get in there and reform that corner. And he said that's not going to cost much at all. And I said, plan on doing that, and I'll discuss it with you gentlemen, because do it now, mobilize once they're here. There's cost savings to be had, in my opinion, and we'll get, I asked them to try and throw a rough quote, because until you're there, logging hours and everything, it's not going to be exact. But in any case, it didn't sound like it was going to be big money.
Good.
And
that's it, and that'll be complete, finished the right way.
That'll be...
Won't have to touch the bridge for a couple of years.
Beautiful thing.
Yeah, and the engineers were out there monitoring this throughout. That I'm sure that added to some of the time delay in some resolving certain procedural issues that weren't compliant with, say, the DOT handbook for specs. We had to make some adjustments in the field, like for the jackhammering thing. We had to bring in a machine. So there were some delays, and then with the membrane that went down, other contractors or subcontractors are there, and we were dependent on some scheduling there. I don't know that we nailed them down hard on the 30-day thing in the contract, but I know we, as a board, said we're going to be liberal with this. We're shooting for 30 days, but no way take that to mean that we're going to hold you to task for it.
Yeah, you have to be like, you got weather issues and all that kind of...
There were too many variables, and I don't think we went too far beyond. I can't remember what date we started this, actually, but I don't think we're too far out of the scope, and you start getting heavy-handed, especially when we gave them our word. This was there just to make sure you don't leave and go off to another bridge job and come back 2 months later. That's just not something that this board has traditionally tried to impose, so.
I don't think so.
So, yeah, no, so that's the update on that discussion there with HEB and how that finalized. So I kind of got off onto the second bridge there. Then the sealed bids came in here for a landlocked parcel with two abutters had an interest. I believe originally it was felt that only one abutter was going to be interested, and I didn't think the other party was interested. We were led to believe, and then that started getting into maybe a price war on the phone, which is, no, we can't do that. So we did the sealed bids, and that's what this is today. So I'm going to open those bids, and we have Mr. Ripley here. And he's put his bid in for the land at tax map 406, lot 11, and he has $2,000 for his bid. I know we set a minimum, by the way, I believe it was $1,560, $1,560, if my memory.
I can go look.
Okay. Well, don't, if somebody needs to know, we'll pick it up.
It was 1560.
Was it? Okay.
I think you're right.
So now we have the other abutter, and this is from, the, Kennard family. Let me see, Jeff and Martin Kennard, and they have a bid of $6,110. So, clearly the Kennards were very interested in taking possession of this property, and I would make...
I'm in favor of letting them take possession after the fact.
I will accept that as a motion for Mr. Fuller to award the winning bid to the Kennard family.
I second that.
Mr. Hart seconds it, and all in favor?
All right.
Aye. To Hal and I. Thank you to the Kennard family and to the Ripley family for participating. And Glenn, I'll leave that to your very knowledgeable, skilled hands to take care of all the paperwork on that.
Sure.
Thank you so very much.
You're very welcome.
And let's see, we have also executed another purchase and sales agreement, again brought to you from the hard work that Glenn English has done for us and cleaning up the mess that we have here. And that purchase and sales is for map 404, lot 6. So I believe we have liquidated 3 parcels of property so far in this fashion. 1 sealed bid, 2 by abutters, and direct sales as justice may require on all 3 of those. And we are merging 2 properties to have a total of 6 properties at our auction.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm sure we'll cover that a little further down in the, as we go. I just wanted to get that done. And now I want to take a little interruptive review of our mail to see if Chief Burbank had anything. Did you have anything that's time pressing? I don't want to take up your whole day here if you're... No, you good? Okay. Thank you, Chief. Review of the mail, we have the zoning officer's report. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts or comments, any issues?
Nope.
Yeah, okay. I did, also note that she had sent out, of course I received one, what she calls a rack card again. You've got, everybody's got it, okay.
I didn't bring mine.
I did, see if she's changed it up year to year to kind of highlight some different things. I think these are really great. They really...
And I think the highlights were spot on.
Yeah, the issues of the day that seem to be prevailing, she kind of covers those, so that's great. I'm sure we'll have more follow-up on that and with some enforcement issues going forward. ARC, thank you. Somebody want to jog my memory?
About American Red Cross.
That's it. I didn't connect the acronym. The American Red Cross received our contribution to the nonprofits that do provide for citizens here and about. The NRRA income report was in from activity at the transfer station. So those funds are now being captured in our special revenue fund, or at least they've been isolated. Thank you, Christine, for doing all that hard work on that. And Brian, how are we doing with setting up a bank account for that? Is the treasurer been informed that we need to do that? Or should I talk to you about it first? Okay, we'll discuss that later on, I guess. We have a food drive poster, and I saw Karen Payne's name attached to that.
And, yeah, the case lots, so people can basically order the case lots, pick them up over at the Value Land, and then bring them to the election day, and there'll be tables set up there to take those cases.
So, are you able to speak in more detail to that, those case lots, what those are and why they are? Like, certainly there's certain things that are acceptable to bring and things that aren't.
Yeah, they've identified half a dozen items by case lot, so it's those half dozen items. If my understanding is correct, Value Land has actually given us a cost, so they're not marking it up, like it would be on a shelf. And anybody that purchases it, when it comes in, it'll be picked up by the food bank
Nice.
on election day.
And that way, these are absolutely fit the needs of what's been identified for people.
Yep.
Mr. Mr. Hart.
Yeah, to touch on that, I think, Chuck, you said that they'll be picked up. I think the person paying for it and picking them up, picks them up and brings them here on election day to the...
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the person buying has to pick them up at Value Land. The person buying has to bring them
Bring 'em here.
election day to the table.
All right. Thank you for the clarification. We had a citizen here who came to the rescue, the aid of Christine as she entered the building the other day. Was an active bee's nest who seems to be getting that time of year when they get a little more agitated easily. So Christine actually gets stung, and some individual came out and had a couple cans of wasp hornet spray, and proceeded to spray the nest, and I saw a lot of the dead bees there, so that was very great of that person. So Christine, you're looking for a reimbursement of a couple cans of spray?
Yeah.
I'll pick those up and bring them in so you have them here and that individual can come get them. Would that work for you? What are you thinking?
I really wanted to send like a thank you and a reimbursement check.
Okay.
So he doesn't have to go out of his way again to receive this reward.
Okay. All right. We'll do a little brainstorming on that.
I'm good with that.
Just put together what you want. Give me some details later of what you want to do, and we'll sign off on that. Okay, and we had in the review folder some information on health trust plans, the cost of plans. So Brian provided that. Thank you. The transfer station income. Now, Christine put a sheet together showing activity to date. Of course, it's skewed, right, Chuck, because of COVID and every other thing.
Well, it officially started as of the approval at town meeting.
Yeah.
So you're not capturing anything in the previous months. And then because of COVID, we weren't taking demo for a short period of time. So this year's not going to be a good year to basically say, hey, this is your run rate.
Yeah.
But, we've got over $9,000 in that fund as of last week, and fully expect there's a possibility the run rate will be around $20,000 a year once we get going, so.
All right, well, it'll be interesting to go down and speak with our attendants down there on that. That seems like it'd be a good thing long term for the needs of the transfer station. We also had a pair of performance bonds from R&D Paving, one for the base layer and one for the surface wearing coat. I'd like to talk about the road a little bit. Personally, I think the road is just fantastic. One of the things I had asked Jerry from R&D to do that was outside of the scope of work was to have his guys go down with a smart level on that roughly 1.8 miles of road previously constructed of a base layer that we had trouble with. We had Mr. Resnicki, several conversations. He works for Pike Industries. He lives in town right on Green Mountain Road, and he had some concerns with the road, and he has professional knowledge in the area. So we have met, and I know I have met and talked with Bob a number of times, as well as Gary Dean, who does quality control for Pike Industries and lives in town as well. So in regards to the flat road, once DOT specs are in play, and you're supposed to have 2% or more, 2% your minimum pitch on that crown.
Crown road, yeah.
Yeah. So what Jerry was doing from R&D is he set a 2.5 pitch on the road for a crown. And, when they checked the next section, he felt that it was not achieving 2%, in all places. So, I asked for a breakdown of what it would cost to bring that first section up to 2.5%, so the road was consistent all the way through. And at the time, if it was truly a flat road, he figured it would be about $24,000. Well, I weighed that to the cost of what we had budgeted and what the going rate was today for his expectations on that paving. And he felt at the start of the paving job that the surface coat was going to be about $193,000, which meant we had the money if we wanted to spend it now to address that road. And so people know, that was an emergency decision that I had to make right away, so I contacted each one of you members of the board individually and had a discussion on what your feelings were on that. And happy to say we were all in agreement to try and address that. So that's what they did, and the road, I think, came out exactly as we hoped, very consistent throughout. And the R&D rep, Jerry, had said that it actually didn't cost nearly as much as what he projected. So we're not going to spend, I don't know what the final bill is going to be. It's not going to be $24,000 to clean that up, though. They were putting an additional 1/4 inch of material down that center line when they did that, so that'll beef up that joint we had concerns with in the center that had a kind of a gap. So it's our best effort to make a bad situation good. And we don't have any of the haul slips and tonnage slips in yet, so the final price isn't in. It's just like Elm Street Bridge. The invoices are yet to be submitted, but it should be under budget. Along with that, I just want to say I talked to Ron Evans this morning, and he's going to dust off his old shouldering machine that they created some years back. Hasn't been probably used in 7 years here in the town of Effingham. And they figure by beginning no later than the midweek next week, they'll be shouldering on that road. And they expect to clean up all the Jersey barriers and whatnot out at Pine River Culvert because that process has been completed. And tomorrow they will start on driveway tie-ins. So anybody on that 3-mile stretch of road who's got a gravel aggregate driveway that has got a hump bump, a big step up at the end, guys are going to be out there smoothing that transition out from the driveway to the road. That'll start tomorrow. Other than that, I did want to just say I did call Mr. Reznicki because he's had concerns about our road and professional knowledge, along with Mr. Dean, who we have brought in and sat with before to discuss paving for the town. And the reaction I got was they were just thrilled. They really just couldn't say enough about Mr. Reznicki. I believe said it's 1,000% better. The job R&D did was extremely professional, really good, and they were, Gary Dean too, they thanked the board for making the effort to learn about what we didn't know, and they really liked the product. So, and I believe you gentlemen were pretty satisfied with.
It's like, my only fear now is it's gonna be a raceway, so we need to let the police department know they need to be out there with the radar gun to slow people down from passing people and everything else.
I believe Tom lovingly refers to the little speed limit box as the top in the box.
Up in the bar, I think I heard that one, Mr. Fuller, actually.
Okay, whomever gets credit for the naming. But
I
you,
liked it.
and I believe you did address that.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring that up for my comments here.
Okay. Let's see. Then the Winter Road contract advertisement. I don't know what fool's cap means.
That's a normal newspaper terminology for a copy.
Fool's cap? Wow, I'm learning.
I learned
Yeah,
today.
I didn't know it is.
Fool's cap is newspaper copy, or a term.
Also known as tear sheet.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, tear sheets I've heard. Okay.
Okay, so in layman's terms, for those of us who didn't win the Pulitzer Prize for our, yeah, the winter contract has been advertised, it's out, and, what's our drop dead date to have, bids back on that? Anybody remember, Chris?
I don't know.
So 30 days out, stuff. So,
When we get down to mine, I don't believe anybody's asked for a copy yet.
No, but we need that.
Huh?
We need the RFQ.
September 28th, no later than 5 p.m. September 28th, no later than 5 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Hart.
When we get down to my comments, there's a little modification we ought to make if we hadn't already. We may have, I just don't.
So it's open September 29th.
Right. Yes. It's September 28th, will be the Monday, close of business basically, or 5 p.m. We need to have those in mind. The next item is,
Actually, we close for business at 2 p.m.
correct, but we'll be accepting till 5, and if somebody comes in and they can contact a member of the board, we can by hand come down and accept anybody who's a late bidder. So anything after 2 p.m., the office is closed at 2 on Monday, if my math is.
Well, those are the office hours. I'm usually here at 5, so.
Okay.
You said during normal office hours when you first said it.
Right.
Normal office hours are 8 to 2.
So so somebody one of the officials of the town or employees can accept those copies and stamp them as received or write on there as received by 5 p.m. September 20th. Next item, I don't think that's a discussion point. That seems to be yours.
Actually, what was given to me by Christine initially was correct. I was wrong because I didn't realize she also took that.
Okay. So I guess that's just an internal process item. Okay. And with that, segue into Mr. Burkford, Administrator's comments.
Okay. The home company is online to install the fiber into the building on September 1. Once that's installed, then they can begin the installation of stuff within the building. Now, they keep sending me requests for information, and I need to either take a course in telephonese or they need to take a course in normal people's language. But they asked for all the phone numbers to be ported over to the new service, main phone numbers, rollover numbers, fax, alarm numbers, and the POTS copper lines. POTS stands for plain old telephone system. They want the names first and last, all locations like kitchen where the physical phones are. They want to know a call flow, what happens when main published number is called. Ring direct to auto attendant, that's a question. Ring a phone or a set of phones, that's a question. Is there a different call flow after hours versus business hours? I've answered that, I believe, as best I can. I've given them the numbers. I've told them that the main numbers for the Selectmen, Town Clerk, Tax Collector, Planning and Zoning, and Police will remain the main numbers. And they will ring on those location phones that will be able to be seen, and preferably after 3 rings, ring on another phone so citizens don't get not answered.
Well,
that's not a good terminology. Anyway, so that, because if, for instance, Deanna was backed up and both of her lines were in use, and after the 3rd ring in there, it would go to one of the other phones, and it would be the Selectman's office. So that someone can answer and say they're tied up, we can put you on hold, or you can call back, but at least they talk to the live person. If in the meantime someone gets off the phone in there, just transfer it to that phone.
Okay. Well, I got I'm sure I'm going to have a whole bunch of questions, and we may need to sit down in a little session to kind of brainstorm this. For example, does Deanna want that? Maybe she doesn't want it to travel to the Selectmen's. So we might need to have a little group input.
And try to start those conversations I wanted to make it, if Deanna's alone and her second phone rings, it would be nice if we could answer that phone for her and just put the person on hold for a few minutes. Or if our lines are all tied up and Deanna's not busy, she would be able to pick up.
I think we're gonna need to make sure that everybody, I think when you bring everybody to the table, a lot of things get discussed that maybe we miss, so that's always been my practice, you know, from the general to the janitor, everybody comes in and take input, so I'd like to probably touch on that, because one of the things you said is, you got the police and planning and zoning in there, and I'm assuming that
Police would be police,
right.
not bring in here at all.
Right.
Planning and zoning will be planning and zoning, and we're not bringing here at all.
Okay, there again, I think we're gonna probably need to do a little work session, or after the meeting, maybe dig into this a little more for detail, rather than in the meeting as a whole. And, again, I think we're gonna need, like, certainly Deanna's input, and I'd like to get everybody's input, because that's just the way I like to do it. I don't know everybody else's.
Want to set up a work session now? We can add to
Well,
it to go.
we'll see if Deanna's good time right at the end of this, and if no, we'll continue right into a work session.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We can chat about it, after we conclude here today on just getting some ballpark, you know, thoughts, and then if we gotta schedule a more intensive session. Thanks, Bob. Yeah.
I got this thing and I forwarded it on to Randy because he is the emergency manager, but this thing came, from Carroll County, and it's about emergency management performance grant. It's a grant. It's not a lot of money, but it's a grant that allows you to do things like putting together food plans. Those are continuing operational plans, organizational operational plans. And some of those is, if you have a disaster going on, and this building is part of the disaster, and it's your emergency management center, what are you gonna do now? What are you gonna do for moving to someplace else and still function? I don't know if we want to participate, but at least I forwarded it to Randy so he could look at it, and then maybe we could talk about it. There is a drop dead date on it, and once they run out of money, there's no more money, so you're late getting in, and everybody else has soaked up all the money.
You just said something, though, that made me think, the Emergency Operations Center, here it is, and were you considering that if we're using that, how do we function as a town, because our town functions here? Is that part of what you're...
This is an emergency management center for the town of Effingham.
Right.
If this is the disaster, where now is your emergency management operations center? And how is it set up?
There's contingency. We did a 5-year plan, was that last year before, I think. Year before for emergency operations, the 5-year plan you do them. And we did hazardous mitigation last year? Yeah, another 5 years.
When you see it, right, it's probably only max 10 grand, I don't know. It looks like a 4 and a 3, and then some other stuff thrown in. But it allows you to get fluid generators and some other stuff. So I don't know whether it's something that's worth pursuing or not. I don't know.
So, you know,
It's both your email addresses.
Okay.
I think there was something in there, though, that was a nugget of gold. I don't know, Randy, you tell me. If this is an emergency operations center, a lot of activity is going to be going in here that's not the office functions and the personnel. Are we still going to be able to operate as a town our day-to-day processes in light of that? Like,
If you've got a declared emergency, that place is probably gonna be open.
well, then that still seems like it's a problem because we have to function as a board to do direct business and...
You will be part of the emergency operations sitting right in this room.
Yeah, but if it gets wiped out by a tornado, we've had a few tornadoes lately.
Go to the fire department.
Right, so now you move to the fire department.
I was just more thinking about how to work with the office.
It's a disaster, everybody's just gonna have to...
You're not getting out of working, it's not gonna happen, everybody comes in.
You know what? I usually
That's right.
I was part of the Red Cross for the shelter down at the school. so don't worry about it. I'm not getting out of anything. I might have to go home to stoke my wood stove, but don't worry about that.
Always something.
That's a written pass, that's a written
Grab
pass.
your furphy.
All right, that's for another,
Her house is a pet shelter.
Yeah, I take all the pets in.
What are you going to do for computers for people to operate at as a town operation at the fire station? We know they only have one. That's some of the planning that you would have to do. I know Gwen wants to go home, and that's fine, but you gotta
That's not what I said, you and I. Again, we did not listen.
all right, so obviously, these things will be taken up in another setting when we do emergency management stuff. But we can have some other considerations, like what you've got, we got a few years, but just some thoughts, random, sorry, didn't mean to derail everything. Go right ahead where I so rudely interrupted you, sir.
The money from Citizens Bank has been transferred to Bank of New Hampshire, and the accounts have been closed according to the treasurer. She has not yet been able to get all the paperwork done on the money the Selectmen pool is looking for to have that transferred over. I'm going to make it, I haven't talked with her, I've just gotten an email from her. I need to talk with her to make sure, because when she closed out the accounts, I can no longer see what was in the account on the last day of the closeout, so I know what I got for a check.
Okay.
And that has been deposited. Covered that. Mr. Chairman.
Sir.
This is the grant paperwork that needs to be completed for you to get your funding for the election. Just so you're aware.
It's only an eighth of an inch thick.
You're not done? What have you been doing?
I've worked on some of it, but it does say things like it's a cost share, so that, but don't tell what the percentage of the cost share is. I suspect it's going to be 80-20.
Yeah.
There's things in it that there's an award ceiling, but it's based on population of what the ceiling is for Effingham. I'll get there in a minute. Absentee ballots will be, the cost of them will be figured based on what you had in 2016, subtracted from what you have in 2020, and that's what they're going to rule is the number of increased absentee ballots that they have to deal with. Our price limitation is $3,498.84. We can't get any more than that. That's the max. And we'll have to match that amount.
What was the max? I'm sorry, Roy.
3,000.
What was the max?
That's the max.
What is it?
$3,498.84.
For all that paperwork?
Yes.
Okay.
You're going to have to vote on who it is that has the authority to execute this grant.
Oh, I'll vote for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, check it out.
So, the $3,500, what is it we're targeting? For $3,500, what is it you figure we can be targeting with that?
Well, we definitely can get the cost back of the preparation, mailing, and receipt back of the absentee ballot.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what else.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what we'll have left after that. There's always, everything has to be in, I believe, it's the 10th of September.
Nice. Okay.
Of course, you have to sign all the paperwork that you're smoke-free, and you don't allow any drugs and a whole bunch of other stuff, but that's standard in most of them. So, but it's going to take some time and some work to complete it all.
Now, do you need some input from Deanna, or?
I will. I don't know how many absentee ballots that she's done. And she and I have already talked about it.
I think something like that, she's pretty cognizant of those numbers these days, so. In regards to that grant, though, and filling out the paperwork and signing it, I would like to make sure the board is all in favor of having you be the authority, that when you get that done, you can sign it and send it in.
Then we need to make sure that's in the minutes and it's been a vote, because that's a requirement.
I vote Brian.
Is that you making a motion?
Making a motion, yeah.
Motion to
Second that.
empower
All
Brian.
right.
Alan, aye. We've empowered you by motion to, we've empowered you by motion to be the signatory in that matter.
Congratulations.
That $95,000 thing.
Well, of course.
On your winter road maintenance specifications, do you have that with you, John?
No.
I didn't print that one off.
I just can't remember, but it says, in the section, it says all town roads and municipal property shall be sanded and/or salted to ensure safe passage. At the direction of the Board of Selectmen, more frequent sanding and salting shall be performed. The town bears the expense of salt and sand used on town roads and municipal properties, but the contractor will arrange for the purchase and delivery of the salt and sand. It will be the contractor's responsibility to ensure there is sufficient stockpile material for necessary application of salt and sand. I would like you to put in there, let's say, the town bears the expense of the salt and sand used on town roadways and municipal properties, but the contractor shall arrange for the purchase and delivery of the salt and sand at state bid or less.
I don't like it. I don't like it because we use alternative resources sometimes, especially in an emergency. But I know our present contractor who's had that has had some used another vendor for salt. And before I would want to put that in, I think I want to once again get some feedback from Mr. Evans. He's been managing this for a really long time, and I know in conversation he pointed out a situation in an ice storm once where there was an issue that something like this would have conflicted, and I can't speak to it right at the moment. So, I mean, I would...
Well, first of all, my concern is we're making an assumption that Mr. Evans is going to be winning.
No, I'm not making an assumption he's going to be the bidder. I'm rationalizing that I don't want to tie somebody's hands and create a worse situation than exists on the ground because we're kind of pigeonholing where you can get materials and for a certain price point. Can't meet the price point, we can't address the roads. I'm a little leery of the language on the face of it. I thought you were going to address what I saw before was language in there, I believe, that the additional sanding in process we could direct was at no additional cost to the town because it was in the contract. That's the labor portion, but that must have got removed.
I'm only concerned.
Copy's over.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
My concern that you get a contractor that waits to the last minute all the time and you pay $10 a ton more for salt than you would have paid if you got it on state bid and they didn't wait to the last minute. I understand supply and demand, so maybe you can add something in there that, I have to work on the wording, but in an emergency situation with approval of the board, you can get salt somewhere else on salt and sand, but I have to work on that word. But I just want to protect the town from someone that's a contractor that always waits to the last minute, and now you're paying $10 a ton more for salt to be delivered. That's an expense that you absorb, not the contract.
And again, one of the things that concerns me is our limited ability to store salt. We have a salt shed that doesn't, not large enough for the whole winter. And on occasions, what we do now is we pre-mix some salt and sand because of some icing conditions that we've had before where just putting sand out was not effective. Yeah, just blew right, exactly. So I think that would be, again, maybe one of the work sessions items, we can toss that around, because
Well, I think we need to do it pretty quickly, because we could start getting that newspaper ad, we could get called today for a copy of the...
I understand. I think that maybe end of meeting, so if you're looking for a decision in the moment, I just don't have the proper language to make me comfortable.
Yeah, I need to see language.
Yeah, so I mean, end of meeting, or even if we, you know, in the course of the next couple of days, something got put together and we had to come in to do some work, just come in for an hour or something. You guys have always been great with being flexible like that, and I try to make myself available. So if we can get to that point, I'd be fine.
I'm just concerned,
No,
maybe we protect the town.
I take your point, you know, in the sense that there could be some additional expense that doesn't need to take place.
My final information is
TA?
we got an additional application for the TA position I put in your boxes.
I didn't make it in there today.
Lynn Hath will be here tomorrow. They will be putting in the storage unit and setting up and training whoever's here that wants to get trained, probably be me. And that will then eliminate the people running around and storing stuff outside, in outside mediums, primarily Zoom meetings, and I know planning board, zoning board, and I know budget committee have been storing stuff places outside of town. That will eliminate that. And it'll also allow people to set up so there won't be the need for drop boxes either, because people have access to certain segments of that and will be able to use it.
Just so there's no confusion in the public, by Dropbox, you're not talking a physical Dropbox, but a digital Dropbox. I did reach out to Teresa Swanek. She's chairing two of our boards right now, and let her know that some of that was taking place, and I'd asked her to reach out to you to make sure that there was some coordination of efforts, or the canceling of some services, because it will be taken care of in this fashion. So I expect you'll hear from her. Are we going to reach out to Budget Committee Chairman, anybody else who might need to be loose?
Once we get set up,
Yep.
there's gonna be IDs and passwords that are gonna be specific to individuals.
But let's get it set up before we do too
Yeah, I was gonna say, this isn't like it's all of a sudden everybody's gonna be there. What you do, here's how you do it, and basically get it on there.
Okay.
So, because there's stuff that's on the laptop.
Oh, sure, yeah.
There is actually, like, I don't think there's any on a laptop. I think it's by design.
Thumb drives and...
But there's thumb drive information, there's digital Dropbox information, there's, you know, we need to think about a process a little bit, and Teresa's probably got the best example of the volume, and we'll just move that over and get that set up.
And that's why I reached out to her, is because Brian was mentioning some billing stuff that would change for the planning board.
I just actually bought Dropbox for a year at $119.
She did, I told her to.
All right. So there's no emergency on timeline.
No, it was, we needed to have something, period. Done. Can we get a better solution? That's it.
No, I meant when Brian brought it to my attention, I thought there was a more pressing timeline, like if we cut this off now, we don't spend for another month on something.
No.
Okay, I got it.
Well, I think we will not have multiple Zoom accounts. That will, right now, we're paying for more than one Zoom account. And, but that goes to my next piece of information. Also tomorrow, Lynn Hath will be installing the recording system for this room, which will allow meetings to be recorded, and it will allow them to be Zoomed. It will not necessarily allow live Zooming until Consolidated gets the higher speed line in.
Sure.
But there should be no reason that we can't record the meeting and then put put it up on a YouTube site,
Yeah.
once it's set up.
So is Lenhart gonna provide us that step-by-step process to take it from, we've flipped it on, it's recorded, now here's how we get it from flip and record over to YouTube?
The answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
But probably not tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm not expecting it tomorrow.
So I don't want everybody to think that Thursday this is all up and running.
Nope.
It's gonna take a little bit of a learning curve for more than one person.
And then I wanna test it a couple of times
Yeah.
before we actually go live with it anyway.
But the equipment will be installed tomorrow.
Okay. Good.
I'm done now.
Okay,
And Mike, you agreed that you were gonna help me with that grant with the Secretary of State's office, right?
I strongly volunteered Deanna to help you, actually. And since she was not in the room, I think that she said yes.
But that is a selectman's process.
Well, I mean, if it comes down to it, we absolutely will participate in it. If you need any help from us, or if there's help we can provide, we certainly do that.
You can't do it, you got so much other stuff to do.
I've got room for maybe 2 more pieces of paper here, so plenty room. And with that, Selectman Hart, do you have anything for us today?
First, I spoke with Lenny last week, about the hydro seed at the cemetery. I told him it was all okay with us, go ahead at his discretion. He was gonna wait till the dryness, kinda, we get some wet weather and do it. He thought maybe end of August maybe, but I told him that's up to him, just let us know what he's doing.
Yeah, I think there's probably a time frame for that.
Yeah,
Right.
best times in, mid earlier September timeframe.
Yeah, all right. I think he was in contact with them, so he can know about that. Like Chuck mentioned a while ago, I had on my list there, the beautiful new road, Greenmount Road. The speed on there, I was driving it yesterday, the day before yesterday too. Someone went by me, I was doing the speed limit, which is 35, and someone went by me after doing 50. I mean, that's crazy. I spoke with Ian about the clock in the box. He's gonna put it on that road. He understands the situation, so you'll probably see him patrol car on Green Mountain a lot more.
Well, the nice thing is we can actually, once that recorder's up there, we can actually determine
Yeah.
the speeds that are actually taking place on that road and the time periods they're taking place.
Yeah.
So, could be during
Slow
commute.
down and enjoy the road, 'cause it's a beauty.
We can always add rumble strips.
Okay. Slow down and look at your tax dollars.
Exactly, beautiful. Got in touch with the ISO. Tried to get in touch with the ISO. I passed out some information to you on the fire suppression rating schedule overview. Randy came in. I spoke with him. I gave him a copy of this. They won't give us any information as a selectman. The only one they're going to give information to, or any manual, is for the fire chief. And so there was a number here, and I asked Randy if he would call it. He agreed to it. He's going to give him a call, see if he can get the complimentary manual for the fire suppression rating schedule, which would in turn could tell him or us, notify insurance companies, or a different rating, a lower rating for better insurance rates in town. Randy would be able to speak more to that, I believe, once he talks to them and all.
Did they have any reason why this is such ultra-secret information and national security? What?
I have no clue, they still need job security for what was on that phone.
Yeah, it was like,
I had talked to him, and it was like, take forever to get information out of him. When we met, when I first got on, I called him about the rating, it was 9/10. They should get it down to 8 and there's 3,000 gallons of water in whiskey.
Yeah.
We've had it since 2005.
Yeah.
But nobody from ISO came out to verify it. So then they scheduled a meeting up at Waterville Valley, probably 8-9 years ago. Bill was my assistant EMT, who went up there. We're gonna be going around all the towns. 5 years later, they came out with that thing. So we just got lowered to 8B. And, lately we had a realtor insurance company call. I get the fact that they're not getting the AP rating. So I explained everything to them. They called ISO. ISO called me back that I was correct that if they're living within 5 miles of Freedom's fire station, they classify it an AP. Even though I'm not getting it because I sent them our mutual aid policies. Oh, we lost those. You sent them together. So I sent them another copy. I got a call back from them that I was correct in assuming that anyone within 5 miles of Freedom, center OSPI is recognized in Effingham. Anyone within 5 miles of those fire stations gets an AP rating.
Oh.
ISO has called me back and confirmed that.
So, but you can call, you can get a manual, so we can have a manual in-house, right?
I will call them to get that manual.
And that way, I think might be a help too to capital improvement, having that manual, seeing what we're striving to hit, why we're trying to get to where we are with the fire department, to lower the insurance rates at the same time, not only providing better coverage and all that.
And while I'm on the phone, I'll ask if they can send a representative out to show us where we should put a dry hydrant system. So, even the sections that are 10, which is Wyman Road, where would you put a system on a dry hydrant? How low would that go? 8 feet, if possible.
Who's got the purview over ISO? What, I don't know who they work for, who's the parent agency.
I think they stand alone, don't they?
That's I know they did. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're independent rating organization.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thanks for chasing that as much as you did, Tom, and good luck, Randy, in getting us more information. It seems like a little bit of an arduous process, but okay.
All right. And this next one I got here is also in the last one on the fire department. Last week I had to call 911 for a matter at the house, and I was thoroughly impressed. First with the fire department and also with Action Ambulance. Our fire department guys showed up within under 6 minutes. They were there at the house, and they came in professional, dressed to the hilt in their uniform. And they just informed me of everything that they were doing, what they were gonna do, why they were doing it. It was just something to see, you know, being there and being in, you know, you don't know what's going on and all that. They put you right at ease, and that's a reflection of you, Randy, because that was really, I was impressed by that. And Action Ambulance, I've had the other ambulance company, won't mention, up there other times, you know, for the health issue, the house, but it was night and day, the two. The old company, I actually had to help them one day with the stretcher, which was kind of, I don't know anything about this. But, and they explained it too, and they one of them stayed and they talked to me a little bit, and it was just a first-class run operation on both sides, combining each other, you know, working together. It was really, it was something to see, and because of that, she'll become person involved. Will be actually coming home today, and I believe, and the hospital does too, because of the action that fire department and Action Ambulance took that day. So, thank you very much, and quite impressive. And we got one heck of a fire department.
This case is a perfect example of daytime coverage of the. We had 2 guys at the station left the training because they're taking practical exams for training for practical exams. They got right in the car, they beat the ambulance, they were in less than 6 minutes. That's what you're gonna get with daytime coverage.
The ambulance was in a minute and a half after that. So the response time was incredible.
Can would you be comfortable saying who the firefighters were that responded?
Yep, it was Joel Chick and John Guy.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and they were both really professional.
And by the way, he just asked firefighter 1, because they're for training. That's his firefighter 1 until I 8.
Who was that?
Obviously. Joel Chick.
Joel Chick.
He's not firefighter 1 in E&T.
Nice.
Not to single him out, he was one, I mean, he was really, I mean, even his shirt was creased and everything. It was a professional deal.
That's all mini.
Take pride, right?
So nice work.
Thank you.
Who was the second? Joel and
Joel, John Jennings.
And then there was a third that came involved, he just got off of work somewhere.
That was, Mitchell D.
Yeah.
He's our paramedic. He now works at Booksend. And they work 24 shifts. They work 1 day on, and then 1 day off, 1 day on, 4 days off.
And he showed up and he actually came up to me, he says, I apologize, when he came in the door, I was standing there, and he apologized, he said, I'm sorry, I'm not in uniform, I just got off of work, though, and I heard the call and I came right here. That's dedication here, you know? Super. And that's all I have today.
Okay. I thought you had something, didn't you want to talk about signs a little, or?
I think that's,
No, didn't you do a review of the roads to some degree?
oh, for the speed limit signs, yeah.
Yeah, I know you,
There's one speed limit sign on Green Mountain, that's 4 feet high. Like, you know, you get the eye level, I think. Yeah, it's right by your house, too, I think.
and now, I know that, somebody at the PD was supposed to go out and do a review of speed limit signs, but,
Do we have that yet?
no. But your assessment, I thought, was that we are woefully inadequately doing signage for speed limits on.
Yeah, I was gonna check some other roads before I brought this up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I can bring this up today. Green Mountain Road had one sign from 25 all the way to Champion Hill. Then there was just a 1 4-foot high sign, and that was down right after Ryefield Road, on the right, by that red branch there. The next sign I came across, and that was 35. The next sign I came across was a 25 going up Champion Hill. And that, I didn't see another sign all the way out.
And, I just want to say, the only reason I know you were doing this, and you had some issues, because Tom called me yesterday, because he couldn't move a tree out of, was that, Townhouse Road.
Yes.
I was over on the bridge, and I had a chainsaw with me, so I came over and I helped him cut up and get that out of the way. And, that's what that's,
It
what do you
wasn't
know?
on the road much, but at night, someone come through there, you know.
All right. Oh, before I go on to you, Chuck, did you get an intent to cut this morning? I was called by a citizen, said there was an intent to cut. He was hoping to have signed today. I think he was dropping it off in the box.
I have not seen an intent to cut yet. I'll go look and see if it's.
All right, because if it's all good to go, we sign it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Chuck.
Nope, I'm ready. So first thing I want to do is, correct the statement I made last week about the New Hampshire retirement system increase starting July 2021. Our dutiful budget chair, as always, the fiscal hawk, was paying attention and, provided me some information where he corrected my 20%. I don't know where I got it. I had seen something. The number's actually 3.21%. So it's way different than 20, but I want to make sure we got that corrected for the record. Thank you, David.
As I said, I knew Attorney Kavanaugh at the retirement system had told me they were going to roughly 30%. I think it's a bit over in July of next year. So when you said 20%, I thought there's going to be a stir in the state if it shows 20% because,
Yep. So thank you. We've taken one beaver out of the Snow Road Bridge area. There's actually 3 huts that look like they've got activity in them where beaver moved in over the summer. And Mike's basically, I ran into him the other night, Sunday evening when he was headed upstream toward the back of Lenny's place because of trying to be able to catch a few more of them upstream. He has dug out mud out of one of the culverts, so it is flowing a little better. But, you know, we're still going to have to punch it once we're done trapping the beaver out of there. Who do we notify when there's a wire that's down that's probably a safety hazard to the town?
depends on whose wire.
Consolidated Communications.
Yeah, it's consolidated, I should.
Do we call them? Did the office call them? Does
Sure, I think-
dispatch have dispatch do it?
I
Is there a protocol?
I don't know, I think any of the above would work.
Okay.
I know that, in prior times, I've had, somebody on Plantation Road and had called, Tim Butts when he was the chief, and they tried to call Consolidated, and I believe Chief Butts reported it, and, you know, a week later, the line was still hanging down there, so dispatch might be a good avenue to see if dispatch can, you know, motivate somebody, just because it's coming from dispatch might be.
Yeah, we got a wire that was part of the last storm that came down, and Power Company did their thing, Spectrum did their thing, but one of the two of them just tied the wire off to the side of the road, and it didn't break, so it's actually extending upwards. But there's one section of it, if Ron was to take one of his 10-wheelers down through it, he'd take it out. It's low enough that it'll catch and get caught, so we do need to get it fixed before too long. All right, I'll follow up on that one then. The hiring signs have been ordered for the transfer stations, manners. They should be here within a week or so, and we can put those out.
Thank you for tackling that one.
Public safety quarterly ambulance reports. Teresa got them popped up on the website the other day, so that we'll start listing those. But then she had an idea, which I think is a good one to take a look at, of putting something like a public safety link in there where we can actually, like Randy, when he provides us his monthly on his letterhead and whatever, we can scan that, put that on there. EMS quarterly when they get theirs in. Get the police department to pull something together, and that way we'd actually have a capability, if we standardize it a little bit, to be able to let people know kind of what the activity is going on in town.
Yeah, the activity reports that we typically get, which I think might be changing in the future, from the PD. Yeah, so a whole public safety page.
It'll help with communication around what all the activity is in the public safety arena.
Works.
Okay, good, then I'll work with Teresa on that one. Storm washouts on the gravel roads, that storm that came through the other day. I saw something in the files this morning, up around Libby and Post Road.
Yeah, I wrote them down. I'm gonna call Ron and talk to him about the grading, even if it's spot grading to,
Yeah,
you know, so.
and I'm gonna guess probably Simon Hills.
Well, I'm sure that,
Runs that one high.
pretty much most any gravel road we have must have something going on.
Good.
I know that Kevin is going to be, working on the tie-ins to the driveways tomorrow. He's part of that crew, Ron told me. So I guess after that, he'd probably be free to start operating the grader around town.
Good. Okay.
Bailey Road? Oh, yeah, I've got Bailey Road down, his posters, definitely.
Yes, really bad.
But I will send them out for to look at the entire town.
Okay. Next item I have is the letter that we need to send to one of the people from the cemetery. I pulled together all the edits we had from last week. Tom actually had an additional edit, which I thought was a good one. So I did send copies to everybody here, plus the town. Flowers and plants should be put in easily movable containers to aid in normal maintenance of grave sites. So Tom, I got it based on your thoughts. Will that meet it? Okay. So what I'll do is I'll take that document, and I'll take all the red off it, and then I just did the chairman's signature on it. So
Right under that bus.
I saw that, yeah. Wow, I'm gonna be in hot
I said
water.
on behalf of the board.
Oh, like people are gonna read that, that's,
So I'll pull together that final one today. Is there any more edits we want to do? And I did reword it based on, what we talked about last time from a tone standpoint, message softening and things like that. So that's where the two paragraphs are read, because they were pretty much read.
Yeah, no, I think it does the trick. I mean, Tom, do you have anything else?
No, I think it covers everything. No, I mean, I just had to make sure it goes.
Brian, did you have a chance to read through it? And I'll give you my copy. Oh, right there, in case you see anything from this.
All right, and the fire inspection ordinance, I modified the preamble based on edits, and, per Randy's suggestion, I added a definition for oil burning unit. And again, like, the gas burning and the wood burning, I took it off Wikipedia. And the only other one that I had that was a question was on section 3-1. The original language is what I had in there. Mike made a modification, and I made a third modification because I thought it was a little easier to read, but, following types of commercial properties.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I got what you, well, maybe I've got the right copy or not, because on section 3.1, I had, what you changed for the following types of commercial occupancy.
Yep.
And I wasn't sure that occupancies was what we wanted. I thought maybe uses, because as I looked down the list, ambulatory health, assembly, business, educational, healthcare, industrial, mercantile, and storage units may not be really identified as occupancies.
I'm good. I can use uses.
Okay, that's all I was kind of
Yep.
wordsmithing a little. Other than that, I would point out campgrounds is probably one word, but I think.
Check it with Mr. Webster.
But Mr. Google, with Mr. Spellcheck kind of hit me with it.
Yep.
It just highlighted it, so I combined the two, and,
Okay. All right.
That was
And
all.
once that's done, then we're ready for a public hearing on that one.
And I was capitalizing commercial and uses in that line for the following types of, but that's just a suggestion.
Okay.
I love it.
And then I think,
I had, if we can stay on
go
that
ahead.
fire policy, are we?
We can.
Oh, okay, good. Page 6. I didn't really, fine line detail, read everything line by line, but just scanning it, a couple things jumped out at me. So 7.1B, access to gated communities and individual properties shall require or required?
Wired is a D.
Yeah, instead of the F, so I changed
Yep.
that. And then, under installations, I put the installation requirements and then listed keys and list of emergencies. So, I mean, I made the installation requirements : because the way it was reading before I moved it around on my copy, it was a little confusing to me.
Did you make those edits on that copy you sent out the other day? I didn't see that.
What does your installation say right there?
Mine says the installation, required keys, list of emergency contacts.
Required keys. Okay. All right, maybe it doesn't need to be changed. I was reading it early this morning pre-coffee, and it just doesn't even work for me.
It flows.
And then 7.2 fire lanes. I don't know. My spell check didn't like parking in or obstructing fire lanes with in capitalized, I guess. So I threw either a comma behind parking or just small case, lowercase.
I'll change it.
I don't know if it matters. I'm just saying
Yep.
it's the computer brought it to my attention.
Yep.
But that's all I had.
All right. Yeah, the other thing I had on 9 for the testing laboratories.
Yeah.
I did some more Google searching yesterday. It brought up a bunch of, there's like 10 or 12 different companies that are certified laboratories for that. So I just put down 3 of them as examples.
Cetera. Yeah, that works.
Okay. Randy, did you see what I sent you yesterday, or? Oh, okay. All right.
Tom may have a second copy, I think.
All right. I'll put that together and I'll send that to you.
Thanks, Tom.
And that's everything I had on my list.
All righty then. Where to start?
Thanks for coming.
Mr. Chairman.
Sure, thank you, Chief.
I had a group contract.
Oh. No, we'll set a date, I guess, to do a hearing, and we'll let you know, this is a time frame.
Okay. So we run down to see Mickey Mouse next. Make sure they're running up the park.
We should probably look at that, hearing date probably 3 weeks from today. That gives us advertising time.
Good.
Okay, let's do that. If nobody has a conflict in scheduling, because I don't know what 3 weeks from today is.
The 8th or the 15th.
15th? 15th, because the 8th we're busy.
That's right, we are.
All right, yeah.
Adios, Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, we'll figure out the time. Do you think we go right at, hi Randy, you wanna do like 1 o'clock on the 15th, anybody? Any suggestions?
Yeah.
Okay?
You're saying September 15th at 1 p.m.?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that goes in the paper, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
the fire inspection ordinance. Alrighty. So, let's see, what have I got here? Covered the USDA bridge process, that's moving along.
Was he all done?
Yeah, no, I just had one other thing I just...
Oh, sorry, go right ahead.
No, that's okay. I didn't have it on my list originally. In the reading stuff today, there was an email from the auctioneer. Wanted to know if the selectmen would approve signage out here. I'm good with that.
Yep, I actually had a few things on the auctioneer stuff, but that was part of, so, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with the signs. We'll let, Gwen know when she steps back in,
Okay.
helping somebody now.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Elm Street Bridge, Thursday, we're gonna have partial lane closures throughout the day. What we're gonna do is cut out a 6-inch wide, 3-inch deep notch in the, Ossipee side, or the west side of the bridge, where they're gonna pour, molten rubber with aggregate mixed in. That's the other joint that gets in there. So, it's not gonna take a lot of time to do it, and it'll be done one lane at a time. Most of the time is spent waiting for it to cool so the traffic can go over it and move to the other side. And with that, I'm going to be asking you gentlemen if you're comfortable that we have our police officer, as it is now, be there all day. Because there's no signage, these people aren't coming in with flaggers and stuff. We had some flagging concerns and whatnot.
The only thing that precluded if they get an emergency, but...
Right, if the sheriff's department calls, that's one thing. Other than that, I was hoping to put them on that road detail for safety. You could park the cruiser at one end with the lights going and be standing out to make sure that nothing happens to the road.
Is that an all-day event or like 4 to 6 hours?
6 hours potentially, you know, that was a ballpark. And I won't know until Wednesday what the timeline will be, because these folks are coming from Vermont. And so Mike Hanson's gonna get the schedule nailed down for me and contact me. But I just think that that bridge, along with that road now, is gonna, you know, there's gonna be, my fear is that we're gonna have some people that are very excited.
Absolutely, that's my fear too. I think it's a great idea.
You good with that, Chuck?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make contact on that one. And on a PD note, I called the sheriff yesterday and looked for an update on our background check, because it was supposed to be in midweek last week and done. I didn't hear anything back, haven't heard anything back unless I received an email or a text at this point. But I did reach out to Joe Duchesne, the chief in Ossipee, and he was informed yesterday, I guess, end of day, that it's been completed. So I will again follow up with, Dominic, Rashadi, the sheriff, and see when we can, how quickly we can get that information here, so that we can get Joe in, because we're seriously understaffed, and I know Joe's he's got a whole small army, a blue army ready to move into town, and, I'm looking forward to that, so. Just an update that things are moving. Let's see. I grabbed the budget versus actual yesterday, was in the office. We're gonna have to start looking at the liabilities when Brian gets the opportunity to break those out, because I think, as we discussed the other day, I think there's some...
About that for a minute. I've given some thought to the liability issue. It doesn't print well, so it's hard to figure it out unless you just look at each individual liability separate from all the others. I was trying very hard to keep the budget, the actual, to show only what was voted by the legislative body. But I'm thinking that maybe we'll try to do that at the detriment of good bookkeeping. So I'm thinking that maybe what I would, if this is kind of the thought process, that I would add a total separate item into the budget called COVID. And then I would break that out into COVID payments to individual, COVID payments to equipment, so that we could look at that. That will increase the bottom line of the budget by the amount of money we receive from COVID, that it will then zero out because we're required to spend that money. And I think that might be a much better process, because then everybody can see that. And do the same thing with the Elm Street Bridge.
So reconstruction money, the paving, so yeah, okay.
I'm thinking that that's going to make it much easier for people to see budget to actual. They'll just have to realize that that amount of money is in addition to what the legislative body actually voted. So the COVID requirement requires that we spend the money for something that was not budgeted and to be spent in this calendar year. And you can't carry that over. You've got to pay it back. We already have to pay back a little over $2,000 and some change, because it wasn't all the fire department put in all was not used.
Okay.
And so that we owe that money back to them. It isn't costing us money because we got too much. Now we got to get that way.
Yeah.
I just kind of think that might, as long as everybody understands, if you look at the bottom line. The other thing that bothers me that's going to happen is the total percentage of the spent budget may not be accurate. Percentage in each individual.
Yeah, down in the, right, no, and we've experienced that.
Might not be accurate.
We've always seemed to experience that because of these kind of things. Yeah, I'd be in favor of seeing all the things under liabilities if they were quantified in another fashion on the budget, because then it is open for us to look at, and if we say, gee, there's nothing against road reconstruction money, but we know we spent some, it's a tip-off for us to go back in our files and try to find, you know, so that would be, I think it would be helpful.
Yep. The problem with it under liability, if QuickBooks is giving you the ability to print all the liabilities out and print out, they've hidden it so far that I can't figure out where it is. So the only way I can print liabilities is to go to each one of the 100 or so that are there and print them out individually. And that kind of makes no sense.
You do know that we have our friendly resource in town that would, if she knows the answer, share it.
She did not know the answer.
All right, well, at least you utilize that avenue. Thank you. All right, yeah, you know, you want to pursue that, that would be fine. And
I think that's what, that'll at least give it one printout and you'll be able to see it.
well, I think the budget, it'd be easier for budget committee people at least to be able to keep up as well as us, so I'm in favor of it.
If that's the case, it's probably gonna take me till this time next week to get it
Okay.
back out.
Yep. right, no,
Give
that's,
me a little time here.
absolutely.
Means I gotta do your grant.
Don't forget my employee vacation list. Let's see. One of the things I brought up here to Brian actually, yesterday was that, I think or maybe even we, Chuck, may have dropped the ball in bringing forward, something of our own interest, but also something that the capital improvement program has touched upon, and that's our Gatsby compliance, that we were supposed to follow up on, because I know, I believe Teresa Swanik and maybe others had, done some work on compiling all the data in the past to bring us up with those things. The book that, for all the things that are, I believe, it's either, I think Gatsby might be 10,000, but I think we were grabbing things of $5,000 in value with a shelf life of 2 years or more and cataloging them. And I think there was a point in time, 2016, 17, something, that maybe that process may have stopped or became sporadic. And
when Gracie and I went through that individual page by page last year, quite a bit of it was in there except the last year or year and a quarter.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we're as far behind as 2016. There were some holes that we probably need to chase down.
Yeah.
And to your point around the minimum size of something that should be in there, one of the questions that we had was there was some stuff in there for $200 and $600, but it was part of a $12,000 or $20,000 item. So part of that capture needs to make sure that, yeah, there might be a smaller invoice in there, but it's part of a bigger piece that does meet the criteria for definition.
That's the struggle, is that's, I know we're getting a few things cleared up, we're clearing a few things off the deck, and as we do, this would be like one of those other things that might become a filler for, not a priority, but something we'd like to get focused on if we can collectively add to that conversation.
I will go back to Grace's notes on that. She took extensive notes of everything that was in there.
Okay.
And I will find out for her with that. It will allow us not to recreate a bunch of homework, and it would allow us basically to say, okay, here's where we were, how do we get from point A in the old way to where we are today.
Oh, great. Well, that's good, yeah. Great to put in that kind of work. That'll be helpful. Brian?
Yeah, as you and I discussed a little bit yesterday, we need to have some understanding of what is an asset. And like we talked yesterday, if you can't hold it in your hand, it's probably not an asset. So, with Christine and I talked about this the other day, HEB's engineering work on a bridge is not an asset. The bridge is the asset if it's new. One of the things that we struggle with, though, is, and I said to Christine, the repair on the Elm Street Bridge really isn't a new asset. It's keeping an old one usable. And I think the original bridge is the asset, the repair is not. But that is something that we need to decide what the definition is.
That could kind of fall in the realm of what Chuck pointed out, is you have a smaller piece of a greater item, and that might contribute to its value and longevity, and therefore it might become part of that asset, being the engineering report or work done. But the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, Gatsby, I know that they're going to have a breakdown on how to quantify what an asset is, and I guess we probably got to do a little bit of Google time to see if we can get kind of, they must have something in writing that will steer that ship.
Maybe, following up a little bit on Chuck, though, if you get a police cruiser, that's an asset. If you put a cage in it, that's an asset. It may not, it's a smaller amount of money, but it should be part of the asset.
Right, right.
If you put a computer in it, it's part of the asset. If you polish it to make it look better,
right,
it's probably not
an
part of the
asset.
asset.
Yep. Something like something like tires and windshield wipers that are normal maintenance items may not be an asset. Right?
That's correct, and so, you know, the struggle is even though we're spending $200,000 fixing the Elm Street Bridge, the bridge is the asset, the repair is not.
Well, that's what that's our homework to do, right there, is to see how the government, in their infinite wisdom, quantifies all of it.
I'm pretty sure that's what they're gonna say, because I used to have to do that, working for the government when we purchased stuff.
Let me see if I can find something on the internet.
Oh, yeah,
Just better definition, and I'll distribute.
got some basic guidelines to be, we'll roll with that. I did, and this was again part of the CIP group's question, quiz Christine about the gravel road maintenance files, because we have some years ago established trying to keep some kind of track on what kind of money gets spent on individual gravel roads, and Chris has been doing that. You've been upkeeping those files with the invoices and such that we get? Oh, yeah. So we do have something to go by of road files. I don't know if the Eversource pole out on Route 153 by the Fire Station 1, the little station up there on Lord's Hill, is supposedly it's been reported. I asked Randy to call it in, and I'm going to check the pole number again because I can't remember what I asked.
Sticks out of the ground 2 feet?
If that, yeah, it's right next to
There's no pole number left on it, because they took the bulk of the pole.
the ones before and after,
Okay.
the sequential.
Yeah.
So the problem is the line hangs so low that they do and can impact trucks turning around in there, and any of our equipment from the fire department going in and out. And I understand somebody had a boat trailer or something, one of our residents up there, and turned around there, and it ripped some kind of thing, you know, a light or something on. So.
Is that the one that I chased earlier?
No, it's the one, the very next one up from there. There was an accident there.
Because there's another one up there that impacts being able to plow. And
Yeah, I would think this is probably would affect plowing too, in the sense of plowing our parking lot.
but anyway, that pole is not Eversource, that pole is consolidated.
Okay.
That could be a consolidated
Spread
pole.
the poles on either side of probably consolidated poles, even though the power company may have lines on, because the one that I was trying, and to try to get consolidated to do something with a pole, good luck. They just did, because if you go down the street, you see a whole lot of poles cut off, and the electric on a new pole, and the consolidated stuff's still on the pole, it's kind of hanging. And it's because consolidated just doesn't, they don't have to worry about their lines because there's no power in the line, and they don't have to worry about the lines because they stretch, you know, right?
Okay, well, I'm not sure whose pole it is, so I'll get some information on it, and I guess I'll just start tackling it and make some calls to find out whose pole it is, because it's been missing for at least 6 months. And there's a utilities commission, and if I don't get any results, I'll go there. And I've had one of our planning board members express that he ran into similar things and could not get anything done, and he called the utilities commission, and the next thing he got, like, the vice president of whatever company was calling him directly to say, were you satisfied by our response this week? So, I don't know who you gotta call to light a fire, but I know somebody in town has had some success.
There has been a huge amount of complaints about the phone company leaving double poles, and that's been reported in the paper.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I guess I'll put that on my to-do list, since people haven't had any luck. I do want to point out, again, that I asked about the bank account, but you said we'll talk later about for the special revenue fund, or?
I guess I'm not sure if it's a good idea to form a special checking account, because then you're gonna lose, you got about $10,000 in interest so far this year, because you're getting interest on the money.
I think it's a statutory requirement that it is segregated from the general fund.
That's right, but if we, and I don't argue with that at all, but I believe segregated from general fund can happen in bookkeeping segregation. Now, if you don't think, I'm willing to call DRA, and if you want to do the checking account, we'll do the checking account.
I would call DRA for absolute clarification, but if it does need to be segregated, and quite frankly, because of the history of this town, when I came on this board in 2018, there was a warrant article carried over for bridges. I put together a warrant article that we've just executed now on Elm Street Bridge, and that's what I come to find out. That money for that warrant article that we in bookkeeping take and we put it over here, and that money just stays there until it either lapses or we use it. So it was lapsing, and we put it in a warrant article so that the people in this community who paid for a bridge already, that money went to a bridge. And then when we made the warrant article and passed it, and I got into the books, that money was gone. It didn't exist. Somebody had managed to spend it out of the general fund. It is no longer to be found. And that was quite frustrating to me as a selectman and as a taxpayer. And I think, I and this board, we went a long way in putting this together. And if that money, a couple of years down the road, is needed for something and it is not to be found, I think people should have a right to, and I would hope that they would be very upset. So I would definitely like to hear from DRA how this is traditionally handled, because I'm terrified of setting up accounts where money just isn't there. It's like trust funds. At least it's in the account, and I'm comfortable with that. But that's just me. I mean, what happened to that money, I guess? That was the breakdowns that I said, before I came here onto this board, money was being overspent. From my calculations on the 535, when I went through and took out this from that and got to the money that, as I break it down, it was an overspending. If you took all the revenues that came in, and if you had said all the taxes actually got paid in that year, it was a shortfall of over $98,000. You can't have a shortfall. You overspent. And then in the next year, it was $112,000. And then the following year was a blistering $173,000 in change. You add that to you had an artificially reduced tax rate for 3 years because of Camp Maris, not having paid any taxes, but they were included in the tax matrix. So they were never required to pay that money. So on paper, the town was owed $369,000. That went away. $383 over here, $369 over there, and then you get into the utilities thing, which through the settlement, which I think was a good deal, that was another $190,000. And when I look at all of that, we started, in my time when I started in 2018, that was reflective of a $940,000, where is the money? A hole. Prior to that, our balance sheet was, saying we had roughly $800,000 a year. And a balance sheet, a lot of that can be assets. Your total wealth is maybe your car and everything else. So there was things in there that don't even make sense. It's not real money. So when Brian finally got into the books last year, the town was broke. We were operating like we had 4 months to go with $133,000 in the account, and we're spending, about that a month.
And Mike, you are absolutely correct. But it's a different board of selectmen, and it's not happening.
Oh no, we're doing a lot better this year. No, I grant you that. But that was why we stalled road projects that we didn't have. So that's my concern. Accounting for the money is just when I got here and there was no money, I'm like, oh, this isn't going to happen again. Not certainly on our watch, I'm figuring, so we wanna be a little protective of just what we do. Do your research, do the homework, and that's where we start, just like anything else. But there, I got that off my chest, boy, thank you for your indulgence.
Because what will happen is we are not using the motor vehicle account. If we set up, when we went to Bank of New Hampshire, we set up 4 accounts.
Mm-hmm,
Operating, motor vehicle, credit card, sweep.
mm-hmm,
We're not using the motor vehicle, we're operating right out of the regular checking account. Dan and I decided that's a whole lot easier. So that account's just sitting. If we, it's about the closing, but if I won't close it until after I talk to DRA. It's not that I'm opposed to losing the interest if we talk $20,000 a year. There's some interest to be lost there.
yeah, well,
I thought our agreement was
1.5,
everything from the town
yeah,
gets added into the,
I believe,
everything that's on deposit with them gets added into the total. So even that account with 10 grand, it's part of the mass total for interest rate purposes.
we can verify.
You're only getting interest on the money that's in the sweep account.
Oh, gotcha. Yep.
And what happens is the other accounts only have a minimum balance that's being kept in.
Yep.
Your interest comes on what's in the sweep.
Understand. Got it.
Oh, well, the interest on $10,000 is not as substantial as when you figure numbers, but.
We also can change the amount of the percentage that we get based on the fluctuation.
True.
So, I'll call DRA. We don't need to believe in that today.
Yeah, exactly. So let's do our research and we'll go from a position of knowledge on that decision making. Let me see, going down the list, I did also, since we're talking money, speak with our town clerk, tax collector, maybe it was the end of last week, and I quizzed what is outstanding to the town right now in delinquent taxes. And it was, over $580,000, $581,766, I believe. But that's without any kind of penalties or interest. So, I mean, it's probably closer a ballpark to $625,000, something like that. I mean, $625,000 or more. So, at some point, Mr. Hart, you and I are going to put that notice box up, and
cool the rest of this week after today.
and we're going to start posting so that people are aware. If they come here, they can't get in the building, and not everybody has internet. They're going to be able to look up if they see their property lot and map and lot number on there. It'll have, without penalty, I believe, the principal amounts will get carried in. So we're going to get that because we need to get some awareness out there, because these funds are going to be critical as we get towards the end of the year, operating budget-wise.
What's that figure again?
I believe I had
About 580.
581,766 last week. I had written it down somewhere, but that's my memory of it. Anyway, there again, just an awareness. Did talk with Ron Evans this morning about some culverts and catch basin areas, culverts, ditch lines that affect catch basins. Make sure some of our culverts are taken care of. I think we have one up on High Watch that has some erosion that we never caught up with. And Ron's going to be laying some riprap down around the finished products on culverts, and he's going to get up there and see if if riprap will help out that situation. The PD access, going to be speaking with him about that too. I might be meeting with him this afternoon, depending on his schedule, end of day. He's working in Somersworth today, so want to get his insight on Green Mountain Road project going forward, and touch on a few things that we had here on the list that I might have forgot to mention to him about. So we're on that. and then grading, of course. So those are things I'm gonna be looking at with, Ron. Any other things anybody has for, that needs to go on a road issue list,
Just the grading out there on Huckins Pond, heading out toward,
and I did tell him about that, so he was gonna send somebody out, I don't
it
know,
was bad.
so I'll make, well, it'll be all part of the
Yep, yep.
grading package.
Use the access road for all that?
Yes, that's part of, that's the one I keep forgetting to mention again to him, and it's been a while. So, let me see, I've gotta check with the state on some occupancy regulations, because as a health officer, I was contacted about a situation, and one thing led to another, and leads me to think we're gonna have some problems beyond what, one would expect. We had something that's fairly new construction, had a building permit issued, had an approved septic design, yet when I followed up on some, issues with the neighbor's yard and impact, uncovered that there's no septic system. You have to get an approval for an operating approval, and that's after it's installed. The installation never took place. The design was in 2017, but no installation. We need to have a process here to follow up on making sure that you don't just have a on-paper septic system and build a house. I don't know what the steps are gonna be, but that's where some more homework comes in, and Rebecca has been notified. I see Chuck's thinking on that one.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
You had an approval for operation on, with a septic
No,
system?
offer for a design.
Oh, so an approval for construction, but they never actually constructed it,
Correct.
but they built the house.
Correct.
Ooh, be waiting for the approval for operation, that tells you it's been put in place.
Yes, and that's why I'm going to make sure with the state what is the approved methodology.
Yeah.
Because my sticking point for many years now has been the process of building permits and as they relate to septic systems. So I will once again go down that road to see if I can get clarification, and then should the state have some hard and fast guidelines for us, it will be up to the three of us to make that our policy going forward. But I wanted you to know why this is. In fact, the septic system wasn't the only issue with people living here. I've got pretty good information that's telling me there's no electricity, there's no septic system, and there's no water. And there's other living conditions on the property that tie into those necessities, so. Anyway, and I don't think that's the only.
I don't think it's the only one.
Right, and I know there are other properties in violation of septic systems, so. And anybody want to be a health officer? Just saying, I'm not married to this job. All right.
I think it was a unanimous appointment.
Okay. All right.
I'm not saying anything.
All right. Rebecca is going to be following up on junkyards. I talked to her yesterday. She was crafting a letter. I didn't see that went out. She thought she'd have it by end of day. That letter will have an enforcement timeline. It will be sent to all of us and to our attorney so that can be reviewed so that we don't duplicate steps. And we'll take whatever our attorney has on that, and that will be what will go out, I should imagine. And I told her that the timeline, because of COVID and everything else, has moved so far back. That's a priority issue for the board. So, okay. Let's see. Fire inspection, we already set the date. Another thing I have done is I've been doing a rather careful review of information as it pertains to general assistance. A lot of things that are requirements by the state.
Is that the entire RSA or is it manual?
No, this is kind of the manual thing that, so I kind of highlighted items that are probably attention noteworthy for the board, and what I'm assuming are process deficiencies along with documentation, deficiencies. I've contacted our general assistance officer and, let that individual know that we want everything that was supplied when the other person left, given some time, you know, for that to be compiled, and that we are, as a board, need to be involved, and by no way should the weight of all this fall on just one employee. So, my plan that I discussed at that point was, we will collectively get in a room and start the process of prioritizing what comes first and how to obtain maybe documents already built by other communities, so we don't reinvent the wheel. This is going to take some time to do this even close to right. So just giving you guys a heads up. There are documents that I can provide you if you don't have this. I know the office has this particular item that I'm working off of, and we'll go from there. So again, like with Gatsby, one thing comes off the pile. I found us something else. Good fun.
But yeah, when we have this sit down and all, once we get the information. What about if we got in touch with another health officer to come in at some point, and just in the beginning of it all, and see if we're on the right, make sure we're doing what we're...
Well, the only thing that concerns me is not everybody does it right, and you won't know that you're bringing in somebody who really has a handle on this. So I think, for me, step one is to see what we have and sift through and determine our needs, and then reach out.
I definitely need a copy of that material so I can start reading.
Absolutely. And I know we can print that off here, but I think we need to, like, sift through it to kind of identify what it is we think we need in-house. And then we can always reach out even to other communities and ask to be sent item 1 through 10, and then start there and see if people are putting together anything that looks like what we would need. Because, you know, I do the Plan Link is a thing I get on emails from all over the state and every town, from every department. And they're always reaching out as how you do this. And you get a lot of responses. And I think it's far and few towns that really have the resources to capture totally what you want. And depending on what you're asking for, oftentimes it's tailor-made to their town. So it's not easy just to lift something from someone else and apply it to big cities to small villages.
I was thinking more on the lines of like that too, but also on the lines of real world things that have come up that we might sit in if we haven't been in the welfare business, that we don't know.
General assistance.
General assistance, okay. Excuse me.
And there are state resources and agents. There's an agency with the state that can help us identify things.
All right.
So there again, before I would just say, you know, yeah, that's a great idea, pull people in for professional, you know, on-the-job stuff of application. I really want to get the... Yeah, that's what I thought. So, but if I'm off base, we can talk about that and how the steps we take after our first meeting, we can define.
There's a book, too, I believe it's an NHMA publication,
Yeah.
Board of Welfare
Yeah.
Administration or something, is that what you got?
So, yeah, we'll dig in, though, on a work session, for that. And Gwen, as you know, there's places to go for help. One of our next work session opportunities, I think we're so close to finishing the personnel policy, that if we pick that one up, I think we could complete it in our next go-round.
We did some edits last time that, I'll dig it out. I was actually thinking about that on the drive-in this morning. Pulling that out within the next week and going back in, making the edits and kind of producing here's where we left off.
Excellent. If you find the time, then great. Yeah, I didn't want that to fall off our list. So, let's see. That's pretty much that stuff. Let me see, I think I had something else kicking around here. Oh yeah. I think when we do our public hearing, this can be done at a selectmen's meeting, but we would need to post it. So maybe we should post this for the same date, should everybody be interested in pursuing this. It is Chapter 31, Powers and Duties of the Town, Liabilities for Damages Limited, Indemnification, Insurance. And what my concern here is this is the standard fare that protects people in employees, elected officials, anybody in the municipality kind of thing. And the governing body just needs to do it at a public meeting, so we would have to advertise that we're doing it. But I'm willing to bet that there's no record on file for this. And you read that and we'll...
Let's just update it, that way we can make sure we can add it to the book.
And that's what I'm thinking, just as, you know, that second layer of protection. And the reason I really latched on to that is my new role as health officer, and the more I read through it, it's like, I want to make sure that we're covering this base.
Indemnification.
Yeah, yeah. Was that 31-105?
Yeah, let's add it on to that same public hearing.
Okay.
You can notice out, we'll just do it then.
All right, so Christine's making a note of that, RSA 31-105, adoption by the governing body, advertised. The other thing I'm going to be pursuing is I'm going to have to make some notices to some properties in regards to septic systems and probably some other issues that I expect will come up or seem to be around. And I'm going to reach out to the legal resources for the health officer, and that's Sophia Johnson at the state. I have had conversations with her in the past and received emails back, from her. So I'm going to follow up on what the standards are in the state of New Hampshire to occupy your property. Because I think we're going to need to know that. What do you have to have, even though we don't adopt codes in the town, to be on that property so that I can safely navigate the waters of the health issues. What else? So I have a last thing here. Just that the zoning officer is going to be active, and I think once we get through some of the things on her list, I'd like to have her and us work to put together a waiver requirement so that people will sign a waiver for things they do on Class 6 or private development roads. That way, we're not liable for certain things. It's a practice that I picked up on years ago at NHMA, and it's rationale we can get into at the time for why to do it.
Do we file that with the deed office, so that if somebody's doing a title search, they pick up that there's an additional waiver on the property?
I don't know if it would just have to be in the property file, or if it would be something the registry of deeds would do, or I'm thinking property file, but yeah, it's a good point. We'll have to get clarified.
If I was gonna buy it, the person wasn't forthcoming, and I had no clue, and I bought it, all of a sudden found out the town got something, I'd be excited.
Well, you know,
And if I don't know what it would cost to file it. If we did it, we could basically sign it, and to the filing fee, we could set up, you have to pay the filing fee to have that recorded.
right, and the registry will only file certain things, so that may not be one of them.
Good.
But the thing is, if you're going to build a house and you're on a private development road, there's like a waiver of liability on the town. You're on a private road, or, you know, for building permits and in general, things like that. So it was something that I'll look into more to provide more detail on the why you would do it. Certainly Class 6 roads is your other application. If you say, okay, we're going to let you do something on a Class 6 road, you should file a waiver. Right now, we have a planning board approval from, I believe, the 70s on the Hertel subdivision. There's a couple of properties in there down on Libby Road. Maybe that's an area where a waiver gets signed, because we're still not going to maintain that. So if you build a house out there, you know, you bust your car getting back and forth to the house. That's not our issue, just because we let you build the house. So that's kind of what the mentality is. Other than that, I don't have anything except a follow-up with the citizen who has contacted Gwen about an intent to cut.
Yeah, they're all set, yeah, they had the incorrect map lot numbers, that's been corrected. So everything else is fine, taxes are current, it just needs signatures.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Gwen, for processing that.
No problem.
Model of efficiency.
You say so.
That's how this whole office is run.
Yeah.
On the new business, I had approved cemetery agreement. Did you do that already, or do you think?
Cemetery agreement.
We did the agreement as part of the ordinance, which was approved.
So that it was approved.
The whole thing was approved. Now, we did an edit, a subsequent edit to the agreement itself, because the agreement was an exhibit as part of the ordinance.
And we went through that earlier, right? So that.
No, that was different items.
Oh, right, that's the one. Never mind.
We'd already taken care of that the other day.
Okay, and the agreement's already been finalized.
Correct. Yep.
And, we've already done that. What was the correction, the NHRS?
He did it already.
Yeah, but
That
what
was
was
4% versus 20%.
It's like
sorry, yeah,
3-something%.
don't need to put it on the spot for that. Oh, yeah, that's right.
He sent me a note and wanted to put it on new business, and then he covered it.
Yes, sir. And then we're gonna need a non-public, so I do believe we're done, except for, what did Glenn hand us? Oh, that's the, Steve Schofield, the auction. So we will need to tell Gwen that we approved, the signage at our facilities. And then, once again, just for the public record, 10 a.m., September 12th, here on the grounds of the municipal building, 68 School Street, we will be auctioning off 6 properties, and there are some minimum bid requirements listed with those. That's available from the office, as well as the map and lot locations, and there are deposits required for the individual properties to be bid on. So,
And the date again, once again?
it's September 12th, at 10 a.m., right here at the municipal offices, 68 School Street. Will be an outside event. And, yeah, you gotta bring some cash to it, or a bank check. Personal checks will not likely be accepted. So, with that,
I just got one.
sir.
I want to touch back on your proposal from Sturgeon.
Yeah.
I think you brought up about a new gas line having to be run by reading this.
Well, there was.
So I'm gonna call and find out what his issue is with it.
Well, as I was reading this, it says here that there shall be a new gas line installed from an outside regulator that would be provided by the gas company. I'm thinking he's talking the regulator that the gas company puts out there.
This is a standard proposal from what I could read, where it's like a new installation, which means you have to be installing a new gas line, new regulator.
But I think he's doing that, and the gas company's responsible for the regulator.
But that's why I want clarification from him. I'm gonna call on that to find out exactly what he is looking for there.
The other thing we need to make sure, covering, we talked about, is that the pipe's big enough to carry enough gas.
I think it's a standard gas line. What they do is they increase the regulator.
Remember
larger
roads were
regulator.
dug up and reburied and undug?
All right, I get that.
I don't know.
At least we know where they are.
Yeah. That was all.
Oh, that's good.
Didn't have to pay for it, though.
Sleeping dogs, sleeping dogs. Okay, so, I guess I'll touch on signs briefly because we did do the work and we went around the town. Once we sit down for our next review of the budget, because these signs are going to be a few $1,000s along with poles. I don't know that when we want to do them, we're deficient in some areas for signage, so that'll have to be part of our next work session or whenever we can fit in, going through, and perhaps we'll have some more information on the speed limit signs.
Do you have the prices for different types of
I
signs?
do, that's why
All right, good.
Christine got us a brand new, book this year, and that's why I say it's fairly expensive, for signs aren't cheap.
And did they have a discount?
Yeah, if you buy X,
We're not gonna get much of any more money into the checkbook until we put out the December,
right.
put out the next tax bill.
Well, that's my concern with the outstanding taxes and whether or not we go forward with this.
And I think I said this before, Deanna, Gwen and I have all sat down. And Gwen has assured me that Avatar will have the assessment completed and uploaded to our files on October 1.
Oh, I don't doubt that the tax bills will go out on time if this is...
We still have the issue of making sure that the school tax rate is set and the county tax rate is set before they'll set the town's tax rate.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that bills go out at least before the 1st of December, because we gotta give 30 days.
Yeah.
And if they go out after the 1st of December, we'll be collecting money in January. And that may create some issues for school payments and other stuff that we need to finish up in this calendar year.
This is standard fare, the governor's budget, the school, these things all fall in.
I'm just making everybody aware before we...
No, that's the process, and, typically they meet their obligations to get us out, what we need to get it out in time. I'm more focused on the revenue stream coming in, and if it's appropriate to spend some monies in areas, and whether or not we have a choice or not, depending what they are, because we've got some issues out on the roadways.
But I do think, and like before and I were over a little bit, I do think we're okay as long as the tax bills go out, so we're collecting money in December. I'd like to have tax bills go out like the 1st of November.
December pays back to June, so theoretically we're in pretty good shape, because as long as you have revenue come in within the 30 days, we'll meet our bills, and that's the big thing. The following cycle after that's up for debate. Tom.
Hi.
Oil thing, didn't you have more
I
coming?
haven't been down there this week, so.
Okay. All right. Okay, with that, I think we're probably heading to, a non-public, is that right, Brian? That's, all right then, while we do 5, 10, what do you think?
You want to, after the non-public, you want to come back to any work session stuff, or do you just want to schedule another day to do it? What do you want to do?
Is this something we're supposed to touch on today?
That's why I'm asking.
You talking about telephones?
No,
Let's, before we do the telephone meeting with everybody, let's let us have a meeting here, so, because there may not be a need for a meeting. Everybody here may agree.
Okay.
good.
Let us do that first.
Sure.
They're not gonna put the fiber optic in until, the 1st of September, so
We have time.
Is there anything that, comes to mind that we're supposed to do?
No, it's long enough right now.
Okay.
actually, if you go into this non-public and you don't take any time, I think it's gonna take about 5 minutes. Maybe less.
Okay, you wanna just
Everybody
hit it?
need lunch, 'cause we you guys out of here.
Well, why don't we go into non-public, and if we have to take a break within non-public, we can.
You can do that.
Okay. So, with that, this is what are we falling under here, Brian?
Personnel.
Personnel, so, I guess we're going under RSA 91A3 Roman 2A. And with that, I will make a motion to enter into non-public at 12 noon.
Second, Fuller.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. The hell and I. All right, let's put the...
Conference recording stopped.
We're live.
And with that,
Conference recording started.
and we're live, so with that, I'm gonna say it's 12:10 in the afternoon, and I will make a motion to, go back into public session. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
We're live.
Hal and I. I will further make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right.
Hal and I.
Aye.
All right, we are
Thank you.
done.
Have a great week.